we're always used to looking at the one side of like, oh, if I can just attain this, if I can just do this, if I can just whatever this. But on the other side of that is there has to be space for that. So you have to let go of whatever that is going to take the space of. You make that space by releasing what can't coexist. There are things that this version of you and things of that version of you that cannot coexist. And so you have to release whatever it is you need to release.
Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to Wednesday in the Wild on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer, and I've recently realized I have been terrible at any sort of introduction for Wednesday in the Wild because I'm so out of my element. I don't have the regular routine of raising my desk to the appropriate height and turning on the light and hooking up my mic set and making sure that everything is working. It is just so much more in the moment that I forget everything else. I feel like I am so focused on what it is I'm about to share with you and what it is I'm about to chat about that I forget that I should probably give some sort of introduction. And if you are new to the Wednesdays in the Wild segment on the Breakthrough Mode podcast, this is a in the moment, raw, real, what I'm thinking about, what I'm working through, what I'm struggling with, what's coming up for me right now. And the vibe is this. I can talk personal development theory in the studio all day long. And I do. And I have for years now. But personal development often feels different in the moment when you are actually experiencing something, when there's something that you need to be working through, or when there's even something to think about. Sometimes it looks different, it feels different, it sounds different. So we are out of the studio, both theoretically, as far as this is in an ideal world, this is how personal development works. And we're out of the studio physically. So today, if you're watching this on YouTube, we are back in my car. And that's because this is like in the moment, right? This is what we're doing right now. So we don't have all the lights, camera, action of the studio because you're not called upon to use all of your tools and all of the things that you're not called upon to use those things when all of the circumstances and the situations are perfect. You're called upon to use those things in the moment when you're living your life, when you're out in the world. That is the vibe of these Wednesdays in the Wild episodes that are published on Wednesday. And of course, we are in the studio for our Friday full length and our Monday mornings with Megan. How fun is all of that? Okay, so today's Wednesday in the Wild comes to you directly from my journaling this morning. And as soon as I started writing it down, I was like, oh, this this is perfect. This is such an interesting thing to think about and to discuss. So this is less of this is what I'm currently struggling with or dealing with, but more of this is what came up for me today, and I'm bringing it to you to think about and to consider and to see how this plays a role for you. So for episode 200, I rebranded the podcast. Originally, it was called From Impossible to Inevitable. And that phrase is still very near and dear to my heart, and it means several different things to me. And I've loved that. But when I rebranded it Breakthrough Mode, I wanted that energy of like stepping on the gas, of breaking through, of the decision that we are no longer going to stay who we have been. We are moving forward. We are moving into who we want to become. We are breaking through and experiencing this different version of ourselves, this version of us who we want to be. And so I was thinking about the word breakthrough this morning, and it came up pretty naturally in my journaling. Um, Most of the time when I think about breaking through, I think about what's waiting on the other side, right? I think about, the success that I'm looking for. I think about the impact that I'm looking for. I think about the visibility that I'm looking for. I'm thinking about being on the other side of that. And that's what naturally comes to my mind. However, when I was journaling today, I thought of what I was leaving behind. So, before we get too deep into those examples, think about it this way. When we think about what's on the other side, sometimes that feels like it's hard to get to, it's hard to reach, it's hard to touch, right? We've never been there before, we've never done that before, we've never been that person before. So, sometimes it can feel out there. It can feel like maybe I don't know if I'm capable. I don't know if that's available for me. I don't know if that's a possibility. I don't, like it's something that we haven't reached before. So we've got all of this like weirdness about it, right? All of this doubt, all this fear, all this worry about if we can even have that, if we can even attain it, whatever it is on the other side of the breakthrough. But what we seldom think about, at least for me personally, maybe this is what you think about, but for me, I seldom think about what I'm leaving behind, which is more familiar, which is known, which is how I've always been doing things, my own habits, my own, like, this is, even if I don't like it, I know it. Even if I want to move away from it, I know it. And knowing it is comfortable, even if you don't like it. So when I was journaling about the idea of breakthrough today, I just naturally struck on this perspective of the things that I was leaving behind. And so, I wrote like this is the year that I'm breaking through limiting beliefs. There are some limiting beliefs that I know plague me. They just happen to be my little pets and they follow me wherever I go. And, you know, that these are the things that I'm breaking free of as I move forward, breaking through old patterns, breaking through fears and worries and doubts, breaking through this old identity, that this version of me that I have outgrown. And I think the interesting thing here is that while it might feel difficult to grasp onto the other side of the breakthrough, the things that we want to experience, the things that we want to have, the person we want to become. It might be difficult to grasp onto that because we've never done it before. We've never been that person before. But what if, while we're working on our belief in being that person and living that life and having that experience, we start to really release what is no longer going to serve. Like who we have to let go of, what we have to let go of in order to have this other thing on the other side of the breakthrough. So there are patterns and beliefs and habits and identities on this side of the breakthrough that you can't have both. You can't be on the other side of the breakthrough and still hold on to some of these things. Now, whenever I talk about like becoming a new version of yourself or, becoming who you want to become, this isn't about being someone else or reinventing yourself entirely unless that feels good to you, the reinvention part. It's never about being someone else, not ever. It's always about being a version of you who you want to become. Now, this is a version of you. I I there are things about my life and things about my beliefs or my patterns or things in my current identity that I will retain, that I want to keep, that are just things that I love and that I want to continue to experience as I move forward in my progression. And there are patterns and identities and ways of being and habits that do not fit with who I want to become. These are the things that I have to leave behind, that I have to let go of, that I have to release in order to become the person that I want to become. Because she doesn't have those limiting beliefs. She doesn't have those patterns. She doesn't identify with some of the things that I currently identify. So the breakthrough, there's like this give and take, right? You have to give up some of these things that are incongruent with who it is you want to become. You have to give up some of these things that you probably don't want anyway in order to step into what it is you do want, what it is you want to create, what it is you want to experience. And I feel like it's a lot easier to think about letting go of what you already know, what you can already identify. Not saying that it's easy to let it go or release it or whatever, but it's easier to think about it because you already know what it is. You already know what it feels like. So instead of making that choice over and over again, you have to get to choose to make a different choice. And this different choice will be more aligned with who it is you want to become. Isn't that interesting? I hope that all made sense because when I wrote it down, I was just kind of like, we're looking at just a different side of a coin that we're used to looking at. We're always used to looking at the one side of like, oh, if I can just attain this, if I can just do this, if I can just whatever this. But on the other side of that is there has to be space for that. So you have to let go of whatever that is going to take the space of. You can't just keep cramming things in. It's not possible. So you can make the space for whatever it is you want to experience, whoever it is you want to be, whatever habit you want to develop, whatever patterns you want to have in your life. You make that space by releasing what what can't coexist. That's it. That's what I've been looking for. The word coexist. There are things that this version of you and things of that version of you that cannot coexist. And so you have to release whatever it is you need to release. I've listed a few things in order to then experience the other side of that breakthrough and step into that and create that. Okay, coexist. That's the word I've been looking for this entire episode. But there you go. This isn't the polished. Okay, are we ever polished? I don't know. Okay, this isn't the Friday full length fully thought through episode. This is literally what I was thinking about in my journal this morning. And I'm bringing these thoughts to you because it's really interesting and I wanted you to consider them as you think about your own breakthrough. And if that freaks you out, and think about what it is that you can change, release, adjust, let go of. Maybe just one thing, maybe just one habit, maybe just one belief, maybe just one way of being or one pattern in your life that you can let go of or change or adjust to more fit who it is you would like to become. That's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on Wednesday in the Wild on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I totally love you. Bye for now.